What up, it's your man, Aaron Sands, and welcome to King Talk Season 4. Let's get it.
What's up, everybody? This is your boy Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman, your host of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast and 1/4 of the Premier Boy Podcast. And you are now listening to my brother, Aaron, King Talk Sands Show, King Talk with Aaron Sands.
King Talk, yeah, that's me. Welcome back to another one. Welcome back. You already know what this is. It's your man's Aaron Sands, and we are back with a brand new King Talk. King Talk is back, ladies and gentlemen. Or should I say, my fellow kings and queens, how are we doing in this year of 2024, the year of truth? But before I get into it, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode. You know, it's definitely going to be a barn burner. We're talking about a whole lot of shit. Make sure as you're coming in, as you're, beginning to listen to this episode, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to King Talk with Aaron Sands on all your platforms. That way you can always be able to, for the most part, catch up with brand new episodes that we got going on. And yes, we're in the second half of season number 4. So I am really happy about that. Real pleased about that. I've been away, man, for so long. I've been away for a long little while. And I guess a lot happened. So fucking much happened. And typically I would be eating all of that up. I'll be eating everything up when it comes down to these current events and everything that's been going on. But at the same time, I've been dealing with a lot of life stuff. I've been dealing with, different projects that I've been working on. I'm trying to do different things. I'm in school now. I've been taking courses, IT courses and everything, try to get a new direction on certain things. So I'm really proud of my progress with that. And I actually got to do some coursework after I finish filming this episode. So I'm going to make this quick, you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely going to be fun, definitely going to be talking our shit per normal, you know what I'm saying? And, I'm going to definitely get to it. So I've been working with that, the family's doing good, wifey doing good. You already heard the Premier Boys podcast, greatest podcast ever done. You know what I'm saying? Like, with the bros, Ken the Gent, Tribal Chief, Mally Mal, and the Star Roddy Rod. Shout out to those bros. Got mad love for y'all, so you already know what it is. And a lot's been going on. I've been really happy about, a lot of the outside stuff that, I've been doing outside of the pod. So much so, I pretty much forgot that I had to put something together. You know what I'm saying? So in doing that, I'm like, all right, bet we got to find a way to come back stronger than before, right? Stronger than before is by premiering not only the final batch of episodes I got for King Talk, but also starting that premiere on Premiere Week. I'm actually closing out Premiere Week. This is crazy. Because over the course of the week, you heard Ken the Gent's 5-year anniversary of doing Mr. Jimmy Lifestyle Podcast. You heard the series premiere, I should say, of the trilogy by the bro, Tribal Chief, Mally Mal. The 2-parter, I believe. I think there's going to be a 2-parter coming up. It's going to be a potential barn burner. There's going to be a 2-part Premier Boys podcast. You're not going to want to miss that either. And of course, King Talk Sands, baby. You already know what it is. You already know how the vibe's going to be. So, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. And this is the first topic we're going to get into is something that we touched on during the Premier Boys podcast, which was the whole Katt Williams situation. So, New Year started. we doing, people trying to get their 2024 started with a bang. And then next thing you know, you look up and Katt Williams out here saying, like, listen, hold my beer, hold my yak. I'm getting ready to set this shit ablaze. Now, as I stated before, 2024, and it's in the description as well of this episode, 2024 is going to be the year of truth. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a year of truth. And mainly because everybody's coming out with, everybody's pretty much not holding back, on certain topics that, they're talking about that affected them. People are tired of staying quiet and, people are tired of staying quiet and letting other narratives dictate their movements. And so instead, like, for example, in 2023, when people were talking about, oh, I'm here to talk about my truth, listen to my truth. You know what I'm saying? People tend to forget there's a difference between your truth and the truth. Now, to be fair, I will say this. With Katt Williams, there's a lot of things in that interview that wasn't really true, and I spoke it out on Premiere Boys. I stated that, listen, that 4,000 book shit at 9, like, nah, bro, you need to show us a reading log. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to show us a reading log to prove that you read all of these books. Other than that, I'm not finna to sit there and take you by face value on that shit. Like, what are we doing? So there's that. I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of things, right, that's been going on when it comes down to, that whole situation on Club Shay Shay Podcast with Shannon Sharp. And basically, that whole situation, like, you would think, right, with all that was said, right, and it was very, very, like, wild, like, between him talking about Steve Harvey, such an entertainer, still in jokes, Steve Harvey wearing that fucking toupee piece. And, it's funny thing I mentioned that shit is because, there's a clip of him doing some stand-up back in the day, and he had that little high top piece going on, you know what I'm saying? And you could see when they pan to the crowd, you could see the back of that man's head. And when you saw the back of his head, you'll see it, it was a little thin back there. It was a little shiny, you know what I'm saying? Dare I say it was a bit shiny, you know what I'm saying? So, and it came down to that. I'm like, all right, bro, that's a little crazy. And then next thing you know, you pull up to You Got Served with just a hat on. You balling underneath that hat, bro. Come on, stop it. So, and they talk about Ludacris, which ended up spawning a Ludacris freestyle, which, to be fair, we haven't seen in a little while. You know what I'm saying? So when you got, the people that are getting exposed coming back, not by saying, oh, that man is lying, get a defamation suit out. We suing your ass because you out here telling lies and shit, and that's not cool. We gonna go sue. Instead of people doing that, they're going on different, media outlets, talking about, oh, he bugging, he not, trying to, make him look crazy. But nobody ever said he lying. And we're going to add another name to that list. I'm just going to pull it up right now. We're going to add another name to that list, and that name is Dave Chapelle, which is crazy to me. That of all people, Dave Chapelle would sit there and say, would, in a sense, kind of come to bat a little bit for the people who got called out, So according to NME, shout out to that outlet, for the source for this info. Apparently Dave has some criticism of Katt Williams about his interview, so much so to he ended up speaking out about it at one of his shows, and D-Ray Davis was there as well. Shout out to him. He ended up saying this, quote, "What part of the game is this? He only eat the niggas. He didn't say anything about these white boys. None of these white boys function like that." Right? He said that on at a spot at Monday Rays. Saying he was doing that. He pulled up over there. He goes on to say, Katt is, quote, Katt is one of the best painters in the game. So why are you drawing ugly pictures of us? Stop. Hurt people. But I'm a hurt person that never hurt people. And he does it all the time. End up going on impersonating Katt, saying, quote, fuck this one, fuck that one, and fuck this one. But nigga, I didn't hear anything that you did wrong. He ain't do nothing wrong. Katt ain't do nothing wrong. Katt was talking shit about shit that niggas did to other niggas, but not about anything that niggas did to him. If I told my story, it'll break your heart. I lost everything and never, ever told on anybody. And this nigga's the arbiter of truth. He continued, Katt, listen, I fuck with Katt hard, but D-Ray, tell me, what part of the game fucks up another nigga's paper? What part of the game is about telling on another nigga? All of us trying to get in a better situation. Can we get over it? End quote. I'm at the point where I'm about to tell, and to be fair, I think Dave Chapelle is one of the most what's what I'm looking for? It's something about polarity, but polarizing. There you go. One of the most polarizing comedians we have out here. You know what I'm saying? One of the greats to ever do it. His stand-up specials are top notch. Chappelle Show is a classic in its own right. I still watch it to this day, right? But there comes a point where you just gotta sit back and take your own advice and just be like, "Oh, shut up, nigga," because at this is not the, like, granted, you may understandably feel that way, right? But you, just like everybody else, did the same thing. Y'all never said that he lied. Y'all just got a problem with him speaking out. You just got a problem with him speaking out. And I think that's the problem. People, when the truth doesn't favor the people that you fuck with, then, you know, we start to be like, oh, nah, well, just because they did X, Y, Z doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying? Like, we start to find reasoning within why they do what they do, when if it was anybody else, you would drop a hammer on them and be like, yo, listen, you shouldn't have done that. That's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Dave Chapelle isn't even the right messenger for this type of message. I'm gonna be honest with you, because we all remember when he had that whole Comedy Central situation, right? And they offered him 50 mil, you know what I'm saying, to do another season of Chappelle Show. He ain't take that deal. He ended up going to Africa. And what did they do? They did the same thing they did to Katt Williams. They said he was on drugs. They said he had all these problems. His mental was off. You know what I'm saying? You on Oprah's couch, you know, talking about this. You can't talk about this nigga being the arbiter of truth when you were on Oprah back in the day doing interviews, talking about the shit you went through. Talking about you ain't never told. Nigga, you told on Comedy Central. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be like, oh, we never told anything if you was on couches, you was doing interviews talking about the Comedy Central shit, because it was public. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew. So I get why you say that, because you want to come to the back of the niggas that came before you or the people that you work with. But at the same time, you and a lot of people gotta understand. Some of your faves ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of your faves really aren't shit. And I say that because you don't know what type of business dealings they were doing. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how they do business. You know, just because they may do business with you one way doesn't mean they do that same type of business with others. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the big thing that people have to realize, is because they have to realize that, because just because somebody's doing business with you, and this goes back, and I always try to find a way to take these stories that we see from, like, you know, social media and entertainment and the news and put it to you guys, because a lot of you guys, you know, that's listening, probably done business with somebody, right, and thought that was going to be a thing, you know, and it may have worked out. You know what I'm saying? It may have worked out in your favor, but just because they worked out in your favor and y'all cool with that doesn't mean that it's the same thing for others. You know what I'm saying? So you got to take that into account. Yeah, this was a bad take though. I ain't gonna hold you. Great comic. You know what I'm saying? Great comic. One of the greats to ever do it. Bad fucking take, bro. You should know better. You know what I'm saying? Katt ain't say anything wrong on this shit. No, to this day, people still have yet to call him out for lying. You know what I'm saying? And until they do, we're gonna keep getting more freestyles, which I ain't complaining about because, you know, I love a ludicrous freestyle more than the next guy. I just hate that it had to come out to somebody else speaking some shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's gonna be more freestyles, more non-answers, you know, and I always say, somebody, you ask somebody something and then they don't say yes or no, but they just don't answer the question, they're kind of lying, bro. So that's something you got to consider. This is why speaking out is so important. Speaking out on some true shit. You got to stand on something. A lot of Katt Williams on that interview stood on business. And a lot of people are scared to stand on business because you don't want to offend the people you care about. And that's fucked up. That's spineless. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully. So it is what it is. That shit is ass. We gonna get into some next shit though. Make sure you like the pod. You already know what it is. So Fani Willis, she done fucked up too. We gonna go down the line. For those that don't know, Fani Willis is a prosecutor coming out of Georgia. You know, you may have heard her name before when she was prosecuting, or she still is prosecuting, at least for now, the Young Thug trial. You know what I'm saying? Rounding up all the Young Thug's co-conspirators. Everybody taking deals, pushing pleas, everything. I think we spoke about that last season. And that's what what was happening. So basically, you know, every time you try to get a person, every time the defense tried to get one of Young Thug's co-conspirators, you know, out of trial, make their testimony admissible, she'll come back with like 3 more. You know what I'm saying that he was at this place doing this, he was at this place doing that, which, you know, made this case a little tough. So now with all that notoriety, she's also handling the Trump case out in Georgia, where, you know, Trump is facing like voter fraud charges. You know what I'm saying? He calling up the folks in Georgia talking about, oh, I just need 11,000 votes. And we went in Georgia, maybe you could find them underneath like a desk or something. You know what I'm saying? And he got in trouble for that. So now he's in trial for that. And Fani Willis is actually spearheading that case. Right? But unlike Young Thug's attorneys, right? And they may have touched on this too, and I could be wrong. Trump's attorneys, you got to understand about Trump's attorneys and teams. For all we say about how ain't shit Trump is and everything like that, you got to understand, he pays, right? He gets some of the best lawyers to an extent. He gets some of the, not the best lawyers, but he gets some crafty ass, you got a crafty ass lawyer and a crafty ass team. I'll say that. I wouldn't say he's the best, but it's, you know, it's for what it is, it's crafty. So apparently one of them found out, according to Politico, actually it wasn't Trump's, it was one of Trump's co-defendants. Apparently a lawyer for Michael Roman, who is one of Trump's co-defendants in the case, that person ended up filing a motion claiming that Willis and lead prosecutor Nathan Wade have been having a romantic relationship. Apparently hired Wade, who was a private sector lawyer who appears to have limited experience working on complex criminal matters like this one, and he's reportedly been paid more than $600,000 for his work on the prosecution. Tell me you're not smashing a boss without telling me you're not smashing a boss. That's one way. So basically, you know what it is. Basically, that when that came out and that dropped, people were, you know, expecting that that there may have been some, you know, some unsavory practices going on at the office. So apparently, the motion, according to Politico, The motion asserted that Wade and Willis have been taking vacations using the fees that Wade been paid, and argues that Willis and Wade have been, quote, profiting significantly from this prosecution at the expense of the taxpayers. The motion also claims that the two may have committed federal crimes, citing a law known as the Honest Services Fraud Statute. Right? Shit is crazy. So basically, and oh, by the way, Nathan Wade was married. Actually, Nathan Wade was married, right? And allegedly, I'll take this as allegedly, Fani ended up taking dude from his wife. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not even going to get into the fact of it being wrong because of the whole, marriage. If you out here, you triple, quadruple cuffed up, you want some married shit, you shouldn't be out here cheating, bro. First and foremost. If you're going to get married, you got to stop cheating. All right, y'all niggas got to stop. Matter of fact, I'm just going to say it out here. Y'all out here trying to get triple cuffed up, you got to stop cheating. All right? If you're trying to find something serious out here, you're trying to be taken serious for a relationship, fellas, y'all got to stop cheating. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're single or you just dating, you know what I'm saying, but all the parties know, like, listen, I'm not monogamous, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to be monogamous. Hey, do your thing. Fuck it up. But if you're really trying to like build something with somebody, last thing you want to do is cheat, because financially it's going to be an L, emotionally it's going to be an L all around. It's real, and it's dusty as shit. So it is what it is. But in this aspect, I'll say is rather crazy, because not only you cheating, but also you're cheating with your boss, basically. And honestly, like, cheating with your boss, and you're going away on vacations with her off the back of Georgia taxpayers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's like you're crossing some really unethical fucking lines here. You feel me? We're not done. There's more. Apparently, she made an appearance at Big Bethel AME Church in Atlanta, and she addressed the allegations, talking about stress allegations, but instead of taking ownership and be like, yes, I may have messed up and did some things that was pretty unsavory, you know what I'm saying, instead of doing that, nah, she's framing it like it's a racially motivated attack. Like, they're trying to get at her, they're trying to find ways to cancel her because she's a black woman. And that's a little weird, bro. Like, they're not finding this out because you're a black woman. They're finding this out because you decided to be messy and clap not even one of your coworkers, your subordinates. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. And then paying him more than what he's actually worth, because he's not even built to be in these type of cases. You really think this man is going to be built to go up against like Trump attorneys, when before that he hasn't really had any experience doing any of that? Like, that's crazy. And even then, according to Politico, most of her supporters, are just kind of like staying quiet, until this shit kind of blows over, which I don't think it will, because this case is like public as hell. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how this shit is going to blow over like that unless she steps away, then maybe, but still, it's insane. All of this comes down to accountability. You know what I'm saying? Truth and accountability, basically. Like I said before at the top of this, 2024 is a year of truth. You know what I'm saying? And basically, if you would have just been honest about this and not even put him in that situation to be like to be put in all that exposure, that's a whole thing. You got to also consider the history with this too. Every time somebody goes up against either Trump or one of his co-conspirators, there's always some things being leaked or exposed. You look at Anthony Weiner. I'm just saying, these are niggas in New York. A couple niggas in New York, to be honest with you. Anthony Weiner, he was going after Trump pretty hard. back before he won the first election, right? He won that election in 2016, right? And then next thing you know, what came out? Him sending, pics to like underage ladies, you know what I'm saying? Like, and doing like sending unsavory text messages, you know what I'm saying? So he was about to be next up, and then he got exposed. So he ended up, going away from politics after that, right? Another person that went against him and got exposed was Andrew Cuomo, Cowboy Cuomo. You know what I'm saying? Cowboy Cuomo was trying to round up, Trump and all his merry men. And then he got caught out here. Next thing you know, he ended up getting exposed. You know what I'm saying? About, these sexual allegations. He was getting Me Too'd out here. Cowboy Cuomo got Me Too'd. And then he got packed the fuck up. Now, here goes Fani Willis trying to, get Trump. Trying to wrangle him up. And then this shit gets exposed. In order to sit at this point, in order to pull up on this dude, right? And actually be successful in pointing up to this dude, you got to make sure you got to get somebody in there that has their house fucking spotless clean. Because if not, all your shit going to get exposed. And it's going to be really hard to, it's going to be really hard to sit there and get Trump on some ethics shit when you're being unethical as well. You know what I'm saying? And I said this before. If Trump don't get charged for any of the shit he done before this election is said and done, he may win the election. You know what I'm saying? He might just win the shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big deal. So it's if this is true, if it comes out to, to be fair, it's still being like debated and everything. But if it comes out to be true, she may be cooked. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be a thing. She might have to just sit there and wait this out and see what happens. Nathan Wade, though, for him, he needs to step down. He got to step down. In order for this shit to work, it may not even bode well for Fani Willis after that. If dude steps down, but if he stepped down, maybe that may be better. But it's still like her professional judgment is still going to be like caught up in play. You know what I'm saying? It's still going to be questioned. So that's tough. But it really comes down to accountability and, and telling the truth. And sometimes telling the truth does involve exposing yourself. You know what I'm saying? And, putting it out there. Like, hey, listen, I did this, this, and this. This was wrong. I shouldn't have done it. Let's move forward. And then see what happens from there. May lose your job, though. But that's okay. That's what happens when you take a dude from his shorty and y'all go on vacations and do dumb shit and pay him more than what he's actually worth and put him on a high profile case. You should have kept him under wraps. You should have kept him under wraps like that dude that Shawnee O'Neal was clapping allegedly. You know what I'm saying? And then went from there and then did your big one trying to get Trump. But he may go scot-free doing this shit, and we'll have nobody to blame but her doing that because she is the face of that case, and that does fall on her. You're the lead. You gotta do what you gotta do. So there's that. It is what it is. It's dusty as fuck, and shit like that needs to stop. But one thing that's more dusty, way more dusty than that, and it's the last topic before I get up out of here. Something way more dusty than that, and I feel like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Last season, right, I went OD hard on Jada and Will Smith because they were annoying as fuck, and Jada couldn't shut the fuck up if her life depended on it. You know what I'm saying? If her family's life depended on it, she'll still be talking shit to this day. The fact that I didn't hear nothing of them coming into the new year is shocking, right? But it is what it is. But I might got a new target. And that target is Rick Baby. Because every time I hear something about this story, right, it just uplifts me to actually do a episode. You know what I'm saying? It really does. It uplifts me for the most part. Basically, if you don't know, refer to the episode that I did, I believe, if not this season, last, about Brick Baby. That whole situation with that. We discussed it on Premiere Boys. I discussed it on my podcast. So if you're trying to remember the story, or you might have forgot the story, refer to the episode on King Talk entitled Brick Baby, and refer to the last episode of Premiere Boys, where I packed up her followers for supporting that dumbass GoFundMe that she had, right? Donated all that money, and she was, you know what I'm saying? And she was capping. So there's that. Apparently, a arrest warrant was issued for Roda based on the evidence that was gathered earlier last week. She was planning on turning herself on the same day, but she did. She ended up going to Jamaica. Apparently, she did I think she did not a live, but like a story, I believe, of her being in Jamaica, right? So they definitely caught her and they locked her up. She got mugshotted up and everything, and she's scheduled to appear back in court on March 5th, according to Fox 26 Houston. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna close out by saying this, right? There's a difference between your truth and the truth, right? And the truth, in some cases, have a funny fucking way of just revealing itself and releasing itself to the masses, right? Whether it be from comedians or from lawyers putting out motions, or even surveillance cam, like in this situation, right? Or even on podcasts. You know what I'm saying? Like, the truth, in some form or fashion, tends to just reveal itself to people, right? And I am all for that, because people will tend to tell you their truth, their version of the story, right? And if somebody could dispute it, they will, right? Because you may have some disagreements on that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's always going to come to light no matter what. And when it does, you got to be ready for that shit, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. The truth is going to be the truth no matter what it is. But at the same time, you got to be able to navigate that and move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, and be able to own that. You could own your truth. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you also got to own the truth too, because you knew what happened. You know what happened. Other parties know what happened, and God know what happened. Now, depending on whether or not you're willing to divulge that information and to keep it in the stack and stand on business, that is a coming upon you. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you can't hide behind my truth when the truth seems so easy to just slide out. And that's something that everybody has to understand. And we're going to definitely, harp on that for the remainder of this season. This is 2024, baby. This is going to be the age of truth. You know what I'm saying? We definitely going to be, speaking our shit. We definitely going to be standing on business. We definitely going to, keep talking about that, because it's so serious. You know what I'm saying? It's so serious, just to be honest and truthful with people about your shit. You know what I'm saying? People respect you more. But we get so caught up in like hiding behind that and hiding behind this facade that social media provides. You know what I'm saying? We get so programmed behind that, so much so that we forget what real reality is. You know what I'm saying? And that shit got to change. And I'm going to try to be part of the change as much as I can. And I hope you guys are with me with that ride. You know what I'm saying? Because it's definitely going to be a good one. But in the meantime, I want to thank y'all for listening. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of King Talk. You already know what it is. You can follow me on Aaron Sands Premier on Instagram and Threads. And you can follow me on King Talk Sands on Good Pods. You can follow me at King Talk Sands on Good Pods and Twitter, also known as X. All of those links are in the description, so make sure you follow. Like the podcast on Good Pods, like it on Spotify. We on everything, honestly. So that's a big deal. Next week we're gonna be back at it again, talking more shit. Talking about all these topics, and it's gonna be real good. But until then, it's your man's Aaron Sands, and we are out of here. Also, check me on the Premier Boys podcast next week. You already know what we doing. We talking Grammys. We talking a whole bunch of other shit. We making you laugh. We helping you get past, make your day that much easier. Because that's what happens when you listen to the Premier Podverse. You know what I'm saying? You already know what it is. But until then, it's your man's Aaron Sands, and we are out of here. Peace. So basically, hey, what up? It's your boy Aaron Sands, and I know you're enjoying this episode of King Talk right now, but I want to dive in a little bit and talk about the Premier Boys podcast. You got me, Aaron Sands, Ken the Gentleman, the homie Roddy Rod, and long live the Chief Mally Mal, all in the building, talking about the hottest entertainment topics, the hottest news topics, and giving our own take on what's going on out here in these streets. It can get raunchy. It could get crazy. You might even be talking about somebody's mama. Who knows? But every Wednesday at midnight, check us out on Apple, Good Pods. Don't forget to drop that 5-star rating and all wherever else you hear your podcast. Now back to the show, man.
What's up, world? This is the Chief Mally Mal. Long live the Chief. And you're tuned in to King Talk with Mr. Aaron Sands. Don't go nowhere, baby.